Okay, so we will go through the steps preparing to do VistaVision to 4 perf reductions. And since the projector's loaded now, what we want to do is turn the projector horizontally on its side. Because when we're doing reductions, the 8 perf daily work picture will go in the projector, and with an 8 perf movement, and the camera will have a 4 perf movement, and we'll be shooting this 8 perf down to 4 perf. So this has to go over on its side. And before we do that, if you happen to have turned it, if you turn the printer on without turning the lamp house on, say first thing, you can turn the projector immediately over on its side if this lamp house hasn't been on with this dial here. But if the lamp house has already been on, like it has for this demonstration, then we need to dial it down. Okay, and we have to let it cool for a couple of minutes because the motion of turning this over vibrates and you can crack condenser lenses in here. So we're going to let this cool for a couple of minutes and then we'll come back. Okay, now we're ready to turn the projector head over on its side, and this knob comes on and off. You just put this knob on, and you have to make sure that the pin is not in here. There's a register pin that goes right in there that locks the projector into position. So you want to make sure that the pin is out before you can turn it over. And then we just start slowly cranking, and you see how it vibrates quite a bit if I just turn it over by hand and not help it. So what you want to do to lessen that vibration is you need to put your hand back here and apply pressure this way, not the direction it's going, but the opposite way. You just need some counterbalance pressure, and then it turns over a lot easier without vibrating so bad. You just want to minimize the vibration. It's not good for the optics. So just push it here on the top and crank it over. You can stop it unless you want to see it.
Okay, it's on.
Okay, so we're just finishing cranking it over here, and just to get it close by eye, we'll just make this edge parallel with this edge here, and that gets us eye close, within 100 thousandths or something, which is not accurate enough, but then we'll get it accurate after that. So just level that by eye. And that's about how that should look. Now, what we're going to do to get this all lined up is we're going to backstep. Actually, before we load this projector, we would put a clip in here and turn this over on its side, get it all lined up to the clip. Once we get it all in proper alignment with the grid in, we'll take the grid out, then we load it up. Okay, so I just showed you the loading procedure of the projector just because it was already upright and easier to see. Now we will just take this film out and load up a grid, and then we'll show you the next step for lining up. Okay, the putting in and taking out of the movements in the camera and the projector work the same way. There's a female rail here on the top and bottom side of the movement, and then there's the male counterpart in here. So the movement fits right on the rails like so. You just easily push it in, and then it's sometimes, depending on where the cycle is, it's going to want to stop on you and not go all the way in. So all you got to do is just turn the inching knob over slowly, and then it'll find its proper seating, and you can push it in all the way so that it's flush. And then you close down the tabs here, and the tabs should go right over both rails and lock it right in place. And then the same for taking it out. Open the tabs and pull it right out. Works the same way in the projector. And then once you put it in, again, every time you put film in or put these movements in or out, always make sure it turns over by hand easy. There should be no binding. It shouldn't be hard to turn over. Always turn over by hand first, because if there's something wrong, it's not in right, you turn the motor on, you could, you know, jam up the whole works. Always turn over by hand first, so that's turning nice and easy, you know it's fine. Okay. So there's we're going to proceed to line up the projector head to the camera head for reductions, and there's two ways to do this. You can either use the field chart or a perf picture, and to start off with, it's going to be easier just to use this 8-perf picture, because when you get all these lines in there and you put a grid chart in the camera and one in the projector, you get all these lines going all over the place and it's kind of confusing. So we'll use the grid here for fine-tuning, and we'll start with just a picture here without any lines on it, just to get us in the ballpark. It'll be easier that way. So what we'll do is we'll take this clip and we will put it in the projector head in frame. I'm going to look from the other side here so I can see where we are. Okay, there's in frame. Close the tab, and then always remember, when you get it in, make sure every time you put a piece of film in the projector head, make sure you turn the motor over and push the film back on the pins. Because if the film isn't on the pins and you're setting this up, you're going to be excuse me, you're going to be out of registration. Your focus is going to be off because of the distance of the film. So you always got to make sure the film is on the pins, and again, that's on the camera it's the arrow pointing up, and on the projector it's the arrow pointing up when the projector is upright, or the arrow is pointing straight to the wall when it's over on its side. Now once that's in, you just come over here and take a look through the aperture gate there. Make sure it's centered properly, no frame lines. Then, for the camera, we are going to put a 4-perf grid in the camera field charts. And I like to use the Modern Film Effects field chart. Oh, let's grab it out of here. Actually, it's all set in this envelope. There's an envelope for 8-perf VistaVision field charts, and there's an envelope for 4-perf field charts. And that's where we'll get our chart from. It's already set up in here. So we'll take there's several of them in here, and you can reuse whatever you like, but I like to use this one here, Modern Film Effects field chart. And to put this in the camera properly, to put any piece of film in the camera properly, as if it was photographed onto this film, is you face this way with the camera, look at the film this way with the loop so you can see it, so that it's reading correctly. Then take the film and rotate it like this, okay? And then put it in, and that puts it in its proper place. And I'm just going to turn it over to see where I am. Okay, now once we got the film in, now so that we can see it, we need to, again, you put the film in, turn it over so that the film is on the pins and the shutter is open so you can see an image. And we take our roto mirror and just hook it right on the rails here, like so. And we take our magnifier, and this fits on here. These are spring-loaded fits right in the door here, and you push it down like so. This cutout is here to bypass that reel, and then this can be slid side to side and then up and down with this, and you use this to focus to your eye. And it helps to have a chair here. And I'm just going to look in here to see that I've got my film clip in here in properly, which I do. And one caution is when this roto prism is in here, do not turn this over, because the movement will bind up against this and it'll break it loose and it'll fall out. So don't ever get the movement where you want it, then put this in, and if you have to move it, you got to take this out before you can turn it over. Okay, so it's in position properly. Okay, now what we are going to do is to go to the reduction mode, which means we have to move the camera and the lens and reset the focus from north, south, east, west, and all that stuff. So the way we do that is on your handy dandy list here, we have listed under 5272 duping color work print 8:4 reductions. All the markings are on here. Okay, so what we can do first is the camera focus. Now the way you focus on an optical printer is the camera body moves back and forth. That's focus. For magnification, it's the lens moves in and out. That's magnification. So we have to set all of those. In other words, since we're copying something large down to something small, the camera, everything's going to have to move that direction for reduction. So we go to the first one here, camera focus, and we got to set that on this dial, the focus dial here, to 8.80. But first we will find the hard marks. I got hard marks here, which on this piece of tape it shows 8:4. So the edge, and by the way, this our normal printing position where the camera is now is at this first black mark at the front edge of the camera here. That's normal 1-to-1 printing. So for 8:4, we're going to bring the edge of the camera to that line, so we don't have to worry about this dial right now. We can just go to it and then fine-tune it with the dial. And before you move the camera, you have to loosen the set screw in here. Okay, that holds it in place. So always keep the set screw, this Allen wrench handy. Loosen the set screw, and then just turn the dial, and we'll move the camera back. Let's back it up till we get close to that mark right there. Now we will look on the dial and set it to 880. And you can't see this on the camera. You'll just get a eye. You'll look at it later with your eye.
Yeah.
And I'll show you where that is. But 880. When we get to 880, we'll lock off. Lock off the set screw here again. So you need to lock it like that, and then take it this way and give it a good lock. Never get it in there. Okay. So there, the focus is set. Now we will set the magnification, and again this normally is at this black mark there where it doesn't say anything for the lens board. So we're going to move this lens board back, and we have to loosen this dial, which holds it in place right there. Loosen that dial, and then the front of this is going to go back to the 8:4 here. Okay, and we just turn this thread. This thread here is for moving this lens board back. So we just turn it, bring it back. Not to this 8:4, but to the 8:4 that's on the tape. Before we do that, we have to bring this down, or we can't get it past the dials. We need to bring this down to the 4-perf shutter mode, but not all the way in the shutter, because well, you'll see on the other side, we can't put it all the way in the hole. Just take it down halfway, because if it goes into the hole, this won't be able to go back all the way. Just need some slight adjustments. Now we'll bring it back here to the 8:4 and get it close. Okay, now we will check it out on a dial, and for the lens board, we have to add a block, aluminum block back there, and it shows that it's 1.45 plus the block. So back here, I'm going to stick this aluminum block right in here between this dial, the lens board, and it's marked top, and back here is an arrow pointing to the gauge so that you get it in here the right way. And there's a little mark here where the gauge touches the block, so it goes right there like that, and I can get here on the dial, and I put it on 145, 01, 45, 145, which is about right there. Okay, when that's set, then we lock it off with this screw. Okay, that sets the lens board. Now we need to set the magnification. Now we need to set this lens here, which this goes to 10.70. So we get this little dial, which is the magnification dial, goes right there. And here's our dial indicator for magnification. And the lens again is going to move back this way. So we're going to move it back. There's an 8:4 mark on the top. It's going to line up with this white paint mark. But 1070 will be the line at the.
Okay. Well.
All right. So we're set it right at 1070, and 10 is all the way up top dead center between the 9 and 0. That's 1070. That's the magnification. That's about as far as we can go. That works right there. So that sets the lens. We set the camera focus. We set the lens board. We set the lens. Now we can set the north-south, which goes to 696. So we take a dial here. It's marked NS for north-south. Put it on. Look at the north-south dial. And we're going to set it to 696. So it's at 70 now. That's the normal position. So we go back this direction. And then always wind up going that way. 695. There, 696. That's it. Then we set the east-west. Goes to 523. So we put the dial on. And east-west is this dial. It's normally at 500, so you go to 523, which is that direction. 10, 23, 523. That's all set. Okay, then we check out the rotation of this now. Is 3.93, and there's a dial on the other side for the rotation. I'll look at it through the back here. 393, so I grab a hold of this, look at the dial here, and set to 393, 393 right there. Okay, set to 393. Okay, so everything is set. Now we will take a look in here. Eyepiece. Okay, now we need to back up a step and take this prism out. And we need to put in a piece of this white film so that we can get an image on here. And you want the dull side, which is the emulsion, facing the projector, like so. So we'll pull this film out, and first I'm just going to put this in to check focus. We'll check the lineup first. So this goes in the emulsion side to the projector. This goes in like before on the back side of that. Line up the sprocket holes. 2 pieces of film. Put them both in the gate. Turn it over, and okay, and you can see right back here that it's in frame. See, it's in frame. You can see our reduced image in there too, our 8 perf reduced image on there. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. It's not very clear here, but
yeah, you'd have to put a macro. It does have macro, but it's no big deal. Now I'm going to put the prism back in, and the borescope, and I'm going to check focus, center it up. Okay, focus is for your eye. Now, we just always got to double check this focus. So once we get it in, we want to loosen the lockdown knob here, and grab a hold of the focus knob, and put your hand on the, be ready on the Allen wrench, and just look in here, and we will turn it till we see that we got sharp focus of the image on that piece of white film, which is about. And when we do this, we want the lens to be wide open. You always want to focus with the lens wide open at f2.8. And just find something to focus on, and right there, okay. Right there is good focus. Okay, and once we have it focused there by eye, okay, what you should do before, when you get all set up like this, and before you ever run, a whole 400-foot or 1,000-foot roll of reductions, you want to do a test first. You want to put the stock in and do a wedge on this, and do a color and density wedge and a focus wedge, and you want to run through like every 4 thousandths on the dial, about 30 thousandths this way of focus and 30 thousandths the other way of focus. Do a wedge like that, so you make sure you know right where focus is once you get this all set up, because sometimes you just can't always trust your eye. I mean, you're just dealing with thousandths of an inch here that throws it out of focus, and there really virtually is no depth of field to help you out. Okay, so once we've got the focus there by eye, I'm just going to move this around and see that this is that the projected image is lined up to the grid in here, top and bottom, side to side. Looks good. And now, once we got this close here, if we want to now check the level and all that, to make sure we got this all level, then at this point we take this picture out here at Vigo, and we put the 8 perf grid in that we talked about before. Put the grid in. So we can now use these grid lines for line up. once the grid is in, then I can use the lines to check a level, and our level is fine because we are very close on those on the numbers with the dials. So that's it. Once that's all lined up, then we can take prism out, take this film out here, take the film out of here. Okay, now it's all lined up for 8:4 reductions. So now all we have to do is load the camera up and load the projector up, and then we'll go over the setting of the controls for the reductions. So see you in a minute.